Hi, and welcome to Black on the Mat, the space where culture, community, and yoga intersect through our lived experiences. We're your host. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Seisha. Join us on this journey to bring representation and shed light on often overlooked stories on the yoga mat.
We're creating an accessible roadmap into yoga for Black people, building a community in this predominantly white space.
And letting folks already into yoga know that we're here.
That's right. And speaking about being here, I'm curious. You've been to yoga for a while, and I want to know from your perspective, have you ever felt the pinch in your wallet from a yoga class? Like, how much do you spend for yoga sessions? I know out here it is mad crazy expensive.
So I really do think it definitely depends on where you are, how much a yoga class costs. I feel like the average around me is about $17 to $20.
I'm like, clutch my pearls. Where do I need to move? That's how legit. That's a bargain.
And then and like my online classes are $15. But I honestly feel like if you are feeling the pinch, quote unquote, of a yoga class, like the cost, really what happens is it just falls by the wayside. You deprioritize it. Right? Like if it's just too expensive, it's just too expensive, which is honestly a shame, as in it's a physical practice. It could be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I like what you're saying with that, because that was the way it was for me in Pilates. Like I hella love Pilates, but I was like, ooh, $28 a class. Y'all are tripping, because it wasn't worth it to me. Whereas my yoga classes, I'm like, oh, $25, I'm going to pay it because I know the value behind it. And I agree with you. Like my online classes, I'll do for $11, or I'll do a community class. But in California, I don't know a class. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyone in California, don't come hunting for me. I don't know a class under $20.
At all?
No.
That's surprising. My online classes also were $15 each. And then there's a package deal. And I feel like that's something too, right? Like there's always some kind of package or a membership or something that you could get if you are really dedicated into giving that time into your practice. However, we are also now talking about the cost of the package as a whole and the cost of your time.
Yeah.
Do you have the time to do this? There's also so many sorts of time, right? Like if you're running around on public transportation, that takes so much more time to get you from work to your gym to change, and then the time to change, and then time to be there on time and not be rushing or running. And then you still have to go home and do all the rest of your life. Where do you find the time and that added extra cost on top of your job?
Yeah. And it goes back to, again, it has to be something you find valuable, because you're not going to make the physical time because it quote unquote cost you, but you're also not going to make the emotional time, the mental time, that I think that people don't think that there is an emotional cost that comes with this. Like, I think the fact that, and the thing is emotional cost, I think it's more of an emotional payout. And for me, it's a payout. So my emotional well-being that I get from yoga helps me be okay with the financial cost or the time cost that I put in. Like if you start adding up everything, it's like you're making a budget and you're putting in, well, I get this emotional benefit, I get this physical benefit, I paid this physically, I paid this financially, I paid this in the clothes. Okay, this all adds up to, it's still worth it. And speaking of clothes, I don't know about you. I mean, I won't shout out anything because I've done it on other podcasts, but we'll be all brand friendly today. But honey, what do you think that people need to spend these high prices for all these yoga clothes? It's do you actually feel the difference in a high brand clothing, yoga clothing?
So I'll say this. I do feel like there's a difference in the level of quality in different types of yoga pants, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe you have to be spending upwards of $100 for a pair of damn stretchy pants. I just don't. I
Snapping
just
on
don't.
this one.
And like when that comes to clothes or equipment or things like that, I am a person that says like I feel like you should go to just like a store where they have a bunch of everything. This is the time where you go to the Marshalls or Burlington or something, right? And it's like you got yoga clothes and you have the blocks and mats and things like that, wheel strap, whatever the things are that you want, where you can actually physically touch stuff, stretch the pants, see if they feel good to you. If they feel like they would provide enough compression, you can try them on, you can try them out. Do your little squat test in the bathroom, check if you can see your panties. Those things. Listen,
I've
it's a
never done
check.
a
It's
squat
important.
test. Okay.
Add it, add it to the routine. Everyone, not just you. Everyone add it to the routine, but like make sure because you're going to be bent over. I feel like that's a big thing when people buy clothes that they don't feel comfortable in, for whatever reason, right? You get to class and you see your thong in the mirror. Now you're subconscious about that the entire class.
I've been
That's
there.
not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it, right?
I've
It
been
takes
there.
away a part of that value, like you just mentioned. I come here and yeah, I had to pay for some clothes and I had to pay for a mat, but now I get to have this practice where I feel amazing and my body feels good and I feel stretched and I feel moved and like and my energy feels good and all that stuff. You can't put a price tag on that, in my personal opinion, right? So I I feel like sure it could cost $1 million. The average person doesn't have $1 million, myself included, right? So I feel like finding that access point, like I said, go to one of these stores where you've got like the discount prices and the ability to touch and like squeeze and feel the mat, feel the material, look at how thick the mat is itself. Does that feel like it would be good for you? Like you have the opportunity to check those things out without, because like you on Amazon, you don't know, right? Or from any other website that you order from, you just don't know. You can't feel it. And then also, if you find a brand that you like, now you can order, right? Now you can take advantage of whatever their sales are or what they've
Yeah.
got going on. But if you don't check out a variety of brands, that's hard to do. And it's expensive to check out a variety of brands by just purchasing.
I know for me, I'm a Marshall girl. I mean, I don't go to Marshalls or Ross unless I'm looking for yoga clothes because I don't really care for those stores. I feel like they're like my IKEAs. Like, it's like I can't get out because the line is too long. There's too many people in here
Girl.
and it's a hot mess. But I have found a lot of my yoga clothes there because they're always on sale, way more cheaper than I'd find in other places. They have great brands.
Mm-hmm.
But like even the shirt I'm wearing today, I actually got this from Target. Don't slip on Target. They have some really good yoga
Mm-hmm.
clothes. And yes, they still can be slightly expensive, but I waited for this to go on sale. I was like, this is going to go on sale. I'm like, the sale rack at
Right.
Target for yoga clothes is fire. And so I like doing stuff like that. I will find places where I want to support like a certain, like a Black brand or something like that. And like I have certain clothes that I've bought because of those types of things. I can't say any high-end yoga brand item that I have is like, oh my God, I feel like I can do anything in these things. And so
It's like doing yoga on a cloud in the mountains.
yeah, I personally can't be like, do it. They're the reasons you need to go them. This is for you. This will make your practice even better. I think you have to try the clothes on, like you said. Like I try everything on before I buy it. Some of the clothes that I love the most, I got in Bali, which were dirt cheap, but it's not like I'm going to go to Bali and they were cute designs too. Like she had these really cute designs. She had her whole family involved in it, but I can't go to Bali every time I need some new yoga clothes. Sadly, it sucks.
Unfortunately, yet,
Yet,
Lord,
bro, what
hear
kind of world are
us.
we in?
Yet, just
Yet.
I'm just saying, Lord, are we here? Hear you? Hear us? We hear you.
Well, Margaret, I'm here. It's me. Was it me? God, it's Margaret. Clearly, I did not read that book. But you brought up a good
um,
point because you brought up the cost of equipment. Like, I remember when I first started yoga, I got a mat. And I got a mat because I wanted the mat to look cute. I didn't know about like, oh, it should be this size, it should be this comfort. I'm like, the mat was cute. It had a nice little design on it. It was gray
Hmm?
with yellow. And I was like, this is fire. And then I started getting into yoga a little bit
Excellent.
more. I was like, this is trash. Like this thing, I'm slipping on the sucker. Like it's not as comfortable as other people
Hmm.
seem to feel comfortable on their mat. And I was lucky enough to be in a yoga studio where they're like, they had some mats, and so they let me try a couple different types of mats. And so I was able to figure out what worked for me. But I agree with you going to places like
Absolutely.
Marshalls and those other places. I think I got my first mat at Target. It was cute. And I think
Right.
when you're first starting off, I don't know how important it is to have this like high end mat, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. I feel like when you just start, if you do need some stuff, right? So
Yeah.
start as simple and as accessible as possible, and then learn some things, learn what you like, right? Like, so one of my favorite mats is by Tone by Bagdon, a Black female owned company. I started my yoga business and they started their mat business all at the same time, so we connected, just happened to connect.
Yeah.
And they have these really beautiful designs, but they have like a microfiber top. So if you have sweaty hands, it's perfect. And then, like it helps that. And I like those things. It's very effective. My hands aren't that sweaty personally. I still love this mat and especially at the right time in the summer, go
Yeah.
to, right? But for me in the winter, my hands are too dry now to use it. And now that makes me slide because it's more like a towel, right?
Hmm.
So
There's
it
a little
really
hope.
depends, but right, but I don't know, it's too slidey for me at sometimes. So sometimes I need like a more rubber plastic feeling under my hands. And then Clyde swears by a cork mat, swears by, and he's
I've
looking
heard a
for
lot of
another
people who
one. He
say
loves
that.
them. Right. And I think the thing is that like I love your I love that you had the opportunity at the studio to try out a couple different kinds of nice mats, right? And to say like, "Oh, I like the way this feels under my hands. I don't slip. I don't do this. I feel comfortable. My feet feel supported. My knees feel supported." Whatever it is that like really plays a factor in your practice, that can be found in a yoga mat as a support. It's not just a piece of rubber underneath you. It
Yeah.
is your place to do your yoga. So finding the best place and the best way to do that yoga is important. And yoga mats can be expensive, but I feel like that's the kind of expense that should be worth it if you're going to practice. Like a cork mat can cost $100 easily.
Hmm.
But for it to last and be perfect for underneath you, and usually like the cork is done sustainably and stuff like that. So all of those things versus like the rubber that's going to be bad for the environment and this, that, and the other. And, so like there's all the things.
There cost to the environment if you pick the wrong
Mm-hmm.
mat as well. And I think that's a good point. Like for me, I feel like I'm glad I didn't start off trying to buy a bunch of blocks and straps and all these things because oftentimes, especially practicing at a studio, they have those things. And what
Yeah.
I've learned for me at home, instead of using a bolster, I will use a couch pillow for things, or I'll fold up a
Yeah.
blanket and I'll use that for different things as well. And so I know that you can use towels, you can use blankets, you can use sofa pillows. What are other alternatives that you can provide or ideas for people to do yoga at home or ways to where they can kind of get around buying some of these things?
I always tell people if they want to use a block or they think they need a block, they can use, if they're just using it as like a touch point, you can use a shoebox.
Yeah,
It'd be better if it was like one of those a plastic bin kind of box versus a
those work a lot
softer,
better.
right, versus a cardboard that'll might come from
I've
underneath you,
seen.
so you can put a little bit of weight into it. You don't stand on those obviously, but other than that, like if you need to bring the floor up to you, you're trying to reach down for balance or something like that, or even squeeze it between the knees, you're not the Hulk, you're not going to break it squeezing it between your
If you
knees.
are, we are not responsible.
We are not responsible. I'm sure your thighs are powerful, more power to you, but I think you'll be okay. Using a block or books, like I said, like a big dictionary sized book is a good one, especially on the
Yeah.
floor if you do want to press your weight into it. um a People sometimes use yoga straps, but if your mat comes with a strap to wrap it up, usually that strap is good enough to also hook around your foot and hold it in
Or a
your hand.
towel.
right? Or a towel, use towels,
Scarves.
washcloths,
Yeah.
scarves, headbands, right? Things like that to help reach hand to hand if you need to reach behind your back for a bind or something like that. And then so a really frugal way to to get a regular practice or kind of get into your practice.
Mm-hmm.
People get nervous about like starting yoga, right? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my body, this and the other. You can actually just, I would say, do a private session. And honestly, this could happen online, this could happen in person, but do a private session and make sure that the person that you're getting that session from is comfortable with you recording it. From there, whatever you talk about, whatever you learn, you have a recording of that knowledge. You can practice that same stuff. You can ask your questions. You can get things done the right way for your body and take that video and practice it for a month before you need another session or before you whatever, right? Like, so there's no other extra cost as far as what it is that you're facing
Yeah.
starting your practice. This is an idea.
No, I think those are all good. I think also I'd love for us to kind of talk about affordable options and affordable resources. When I was first starting, and even when I first start, even today, I still do this. I will look up a studio and I'm like, oh, okay, I've never been in the studio. What new student pricing do they have? So, like the studio I teach at, you
Mm-hmm.
get 3 classes for $25, which is a
Mm.
steal because, normal classes are $21 to $25 already. And so you're getting this great deal. And I also take classes on online often because I'll look for studios. There are not as many Kundalini yoga studios around here as I would love there
Mm.
to be. And sometimes I'm
Mm-hmm.
always looking for a different teacher. And so I'll look
Mm-hmm.
on Mind Body, which is an online app for yoga, and I'll look to see, okay, what new studio have I never been to that I can get this, new student discount. So that's one thing I love to do. I looking for a lot of studios have a community class. I don't know if you've taken some of those, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
studio I go to virtually in San Diego that does a community class once a week. And so it's a free class. And so I love being
Mm-hmm.
able to attend those because A, it fills my soul. I make the time and it doesn't cost me much. And I know there are also things where I know a friend who she did a trade. So I don't know if you've done
Mm.
that before where she traded a studio where she worked in the studio and got some free time to like practice. So what are tips that you have or things or the resources that you can recommend?
So I always tell people that the way I got started really practicing more was by going to classes in the gym. So if you have a gym membership, where they teach classes, or you just want to get in on it, look for a gym by you. And the large chain gyms, like the national chains, usually do have them. I worked at two different ones, so I
Yeah.
know for real they really do have them. Which was literally the cheapest way to get to me for a long time. And I got to go to however many classes per month for like $25 because that was the gym membership price,
Wait,
you
I'm
know?
hold up. I'm like the Drake. Hold up. What gym are you going to for 20th? Like, where do I need to move? Gym memberships be like
Uh,
$200 over here.
Listen, we're talking East Coast versus West Coast like deals right now, right? And then it's funny because when I moved to Orlando, people were like, "Oh yeah, it should be so much cheaper now, right?" No, this is like living in Manhattan. I don't. I did say she did not live in Manhattan. I lived in Queens. I lived South Side Jamaica, Queens. The rap songs you heard in the '90s, those are real. That was my childhood. Okay, the cost of things has to be very affordable for the area that you're in. And that was also kind of a thing as far as like me setting my pricing, right? Like I had to really pay attention to what my pricing
Mm-hmm.
provides and offers for this neighborhood. I have always said I want to be accessible. I want to have an accessible point, an affordable point, a place where that price point is not edging out the single mom or just somebody that doesn't have like all this extra money to throw at a
Correct.
gym or a membership. So like I keep my online library membership at $25 a month so that you can watch all the playbacks of my recording. Well, not all. I don't upload every single one. Some of them are just not great or this whatever.
Yeah.
But plenty. There's over like 50 hours of classes that you could take on that, and that's $25 a month. and that's cheaper than the gyms now. Because I'm talking about $25 a month years ago
Okay, because
when
I
I
was just
first
like, I'm
started
sorry, I don't know
teaching.
where you need
Well,
to live to have a gym price. That I'm like, mm-mm. Even when I was
no.
younger, I don't call it being that cheap. But again, we're talking about the difference between different coasts because I do live in,
Mm-hmm.
the tech city or tech country where everything costs everything and every other car you see is a Tesla, literally. Like I feel like every other car no one does punch buggy, they do punch Tesla, because there's that many Teslas on the street. So that makes a good difference about where to go. And have you ever taken classes like at a community center or at local parks?
So I've taught a couple park classes,
Mhm.
especially with other programs. I taught a class that was free for the attendees by the AKAs here in
You know, I love
UCF.
me some AKAs.
So look at the different communities that you're involved in, even if it's not like a physical location based community, right? Who are the programs that you know about or that you've heard of? There's always like Girl Scout, Boy Scout things, these regular programs and the things around you. The community centers will have a class. And like usually when you do a community center class, it's like all these people that are like 60 plus years old. Um, so it's nice, it's cute. We do chair classes and things like that. But yeah, you're gonna have some options to like find affordable or free classes to take. It doesn't have to be like the biggest expense. And like you said, the studios will have an introductory offer, and even the gyms will have a good gym. I feel like does have the kind of outreach where they do a community class or they do a class in the parking lot one day or in the garden, whatever they got going on in their
Mhm.
yard, something to connect and offer, to the community. So, these things exist, they are out there. But you do have to look into it and find where that is around you for access or free, right? And then there's the online communities that also exist. I will say that maybe they will be in the caption or something because I'm trying to think of good ones to offer.
We could definitely put some
But
options in the caption of different resources that we know about and kind of give a little
yeah.
timeline of what you can do. Also talking about, where to buy the clothes, what's
Mhm.
needed and what's not. So kind of recapping that. Do you need a high-end mat? Yes or no?
Mm, no.
Do you need to buy the highest end brand of yoga clothes? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Period. Do you need every piece of accessory that you think that you may need, like why did I blank on the accessories? The bolster, the blocks, and the strap. Yes or no?
Maybe.
Oh, she threw in a maybe. Look at her looking fiery. And are there opportunities to, if you're able and willing to do the little bit of extra research to find community classes, free classes, deals, are there ways to cut the cost of yoga? Yes or no?
100%. Absolutely.
I agree with her. Maybe minus the
And
maybe.
well, I feel like the maybe is hard for me because it really does depend on your body, right? I can't say that everybody can just do this. You're going to need something. Do I think you could replace those things? Yeah. Do I think you could find some ways? Yeah. But I think that maybe you might just benefit from finding like a $12.99 bundle for all that stuff. Uh-huh. Make your
Yep.
life easier.
It depends on your
But
body. It depends on the yoga practice.
right. And it depends on what's around you. You are worth putting in the time, effort, and energy to figure out what that looks like for you, for your body, for your schedule. You are worth that. It doesn't have to be the types of yoga that we teach, but there is a type of yoga that your body and your mind and your spirit should respond to.
Yeah, I love it. I just feel like I want people to know from this podcast episode that, yeah, there are costs, but there's costs for anything you do. There's a cost to go to brunch. You got to get to the brunch, whatever transportation is. You got to get the cute outfit. You got to get your hair right because God knows you can't go to brunch looking whack. There's a cost to the food. There's a cost to the tip and the service. there's a cost to your body. There's a cost to your mind of listening to your friend going on and on about that boyfriend who you know she needs to break up with. So in everything you do, there's a cost. It's about figuring out, is it worth it to me? Does it fill me up? Am I getting the full package benefit? And you have to weigh that. And that's my thoughts on it. Any other last thoughts for you?
Yes, I'm glad you summed that up so nicely. Think about the cost of not doing it. What's the cost of not taking care of your body? Expensive. What's the cost of those hospital bills when you fall and you can't get up, right? Versus the cost of the class right now where you learn that mobility, flexibility, and you have that access to your body. That fall will cost you nothing. Maybe a day, because you get older and things are harder. But the cost of not taking care of your body, that could cost you your family. It could cost you your literal house and home, cost you your livelihood, cost you your sanity. Like a lot of people, once you get to this practice, especially whether it's the gym, yoga, whatever it is, when you get to this practice, your mental state is so much clearer. So how much does yoga cost? All of that.
Priceless. Because I was going to say, when you're talking about the cost of the physical, I'm like, the cost of the mental of you not going to jail, you not losing your job because you cussed out your coworker, your boss. Because, girl, I know I've been there. Yoga has saved a sister. Thank you, yoga. So, yes. Well,
Exactly.
we will put some resources in the notes for you guys, but we want to hear from you. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what stops you from feeling like you can't do yoga in terms of cost? Maybe we have answers for that. Maybe we have resources. Come to us and ask us, or tell us what's going on so we can be like, oh, maybe you can try this, or maybe you can try that. Because this is a community. We're building a community to help each other to be able to be a part of this practice that it's worth every single moment and time and cost financially to do this. That's what I got for you
Right.
today.
Especially when you don't make those costs inexorbitant. It's not necessary. You can find access. You are worth the effort to do that.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today on Black on the Mat.
Let's continue connecting, sharing our stories, and sowing the benefits of having a yoga practice in your life.
Subscribe to Black on the Mat on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'm Seisha, and you can find me at Thick Thigh Yoga on all social media platforms and thickthighyoga.com.
I'm Danielle, and you can find me at HelloWell with Danielle on IG, YouTube, and HelloWellWithDanielle.com.